Welcome to Whispers of Resilience, our MS Stories podcast, where Justine Martin, the Queen of Resilience, sits down with each incredible author featured in this highly anticipated anthology. In this captivating series, we delve into the depths of each author's chapter, exploring the hows and whys behind their desire to share their experiences with multiple sclerosis. Prepare to be inspired as these courageous souls recount their triumphs, their challenges, and the resilience that fuels their spirits.
Welcome everyone to Whispers of Resilience, our MS Stories. Today I've got with me Harry. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am awesome. I'm in tropical Bali at the moment. I'm at
Fantastic.
a full-on writers, authors retreat with some of the world's best authors are here. So I'm feeling very
exciting.
And very warm because it's Bali weather, and I know that you're in
Sydney, and it is not Bali weather. It is very cold.
Yes, I thought it might be. I'm not going to rub it in that I'm sitting in here in a bikini and a sarong. I'm very fortunate that my MS allows me to go into hot temperatures, whereas does yours?
No. I am very, very thermoregulatory impacted, if that's the word. So yeah, no, the hot weather really impacts me quite badly. So I am sitting underneath an air conditioning unit
with the heater on.
No, it's not on. It's not on at the moment. But I have to turn it on in summer. Absolutely, I can't. We have an eco-designed house, but in summer even that I can't manage. So NDIS very, very fortunately covered an air conditioning unit in this room, so that's great.
That's fortunate. That enables you to still be able to work.
Yeah,
because you work from home.
I do.
So being able to do that. So Harry, let's get into some deep and meaningful questions now. Why did you want to contribute into this book?
Oh gosh, I think for me, when I was diagnosed with MS, there was nothing available. Like I had no referrals anywhere, nobody to talk to. And I should say I'm used to MS. My mum has MS, so I grew up with somebody who has MS, so I understand MS. But I still felt like I needed some guidance. I needed some validation, I suppose, and some understanding from some people. And so I just kind of really wanted to give back a bit and to make my story available for other people if it might be helpful for them.
Yeah.
And I love to write as well, so, that was easy.
I know that you do, because you're actually going to go ahead and write another book, aren't you?
I am. I have started writing another book, so, yeah, with lots more information. Yeah,
that's right. You're in Morpheus's writing group, and you've been doing that, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Great to have you on board for the next one. I can't wait to see the finished product of that.
Neither can I, actually. I'm looking forward to it too. As I'm driving along, or yesterday I had to drive to get my wheelchair repaired. There was a bit of a glitch with it, and so I was in the car driving for a couple of hours each way, and so I was writing the book in my head, thinking, oh yes, I want to put that in and that. So yeah,
you could have voice texted.
I could have done, but I didn't actually think about that at the time.
Next time, if you're stuck in the car or somewhere, just voice text it to get it in your notes section. Just keep it in the notes section as well. And that's for anyone out there listening at the moment. If you have an idea for a story or you want to start writing, start it in your notes section if you are out and about for there. So you've lived with MS as I have for most of our lives. I gave you 3,000 words. Well, originally I gave you 2,500 words, but everyone wrote far more than 3,000. Was there something that you really wanted to put in your chapter, and once you submitted it off and the edits and that were all done, and you went, oh, I forgot to write that. Now's the time that you can mention it.
Oh, okay. No. For me, I really wanted to raise the issue of the medical profession and management of people with complex conditions and how we can be let down, but also there are some amazingly fantastic, brilliant doctors out there, and that actually we are all worthy of the best care, and not to put up with substandard care, because I think that happens quite a lot, and we don't feel empowered to be able to question the medical profession. So I've got a particularly bad medical example in there, and really I don't want anybody to feel like they need to experience that kind of dismissal by the medical profession, and also for the medical profession to understand that dismissing people's symptoms actually has a very real world consequence, which is what happened for me. And also for people to know that, as I said, that their value and worth is considerable, and that we need to have the best, really, and it's worthwhile finding the best.
And knowing that, just go and find someone else. If they're not listening to you and they dismiss you and dismiss symptoms that you're having, because no one knows our body better than what we do. I was dismissed by a doctor for a condition, and was told to come back 4 months later if it was still happening. And if I'd listened to that doctor, I would not be sitting here now. I had stage 4 cancer. I didn't just have one, I had 3 different ones at the same time, and that GP missed it all. Totally missed it all.
I have had, in the last 48 hours, I've had conversations with 3 people around that, and where I have said to each of them, find someone else. If you don't feel like you're being listened to, or being, or respected, or that the doctor is willing to work in partnership with you, find somebody else. It is completely okay to do that.
Yeah, 100% agree. 100% agree that I do. What would your advice be? I think I know what you're going to say here. What would your advice be to someone newly diagnosed?
I think what has been really helpful for me is finding my tribe. And so I think I did it on my own for a while, and then I got hold of the MS Society and, have been supported with them. But what had happened, I have 2 good friends, very good friends, who have MS as well. And one in particular, she was diagnosed not long before me. And so I rang her and I went, surprise, actually, I've got MS too. And so that has been incredibly helpful, because I can remember with my current neurologist, he said to me, tell me all your symptoms. This was before, the formal diagnosis. Tell me everything. And I said, no, there's a lot of things. And he's like, I said, I don't know whether it's MS or whether it's just fatigue or whether it's whatever. And he's like, tell me everything. And it took a long time. There was loads of weird things. And he went, it's all MS. And so with this other friend of mine in particular, I will say to her, I've said to her, really weird things, like really weird symptoms. I'm like, do you get this? And she's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. And, I'm not just...
Isn't it nice? I mean, I don't know if nice is the right word, but it kind of settles you.
Totally.
That your brain isn't racing at 1,000 miles an hour thinking, oh, is this something else? Or what is it? When someone else goes, oh, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Like, finding your tribe is very important.
Yeah. I think it's, and I see that. So I'm part of a couple of Facebook groups, for MS Facebook groups, and often there are people come in who are newly diagnosed and they haven't got a clue about what do I do, because they've just been diagnosed, and then, which is exactly what happened to me. You're diagnosed and then it's like, okay, I'll see you in 6 months. It's like, okay, what does that mean? Like, what does that actually mean? Like, I don't know. And that's from my really lovely MS neurologist, who I love, and I said, I was like, is this because he knows my mum, because he's also my mum's neurologist because she's got MS, and and he just knows that I know about MS, and I can remember, I think it was you, or maybe it was somebody else who said, no, that happens to everybody. I was like, oh, okay, all right.
Well, it does in a lot of cases. My first neuro gave me no paperwork or anything about it. And I registered with Western Australian MS Society. And then when I moved to Victoria, my neurologist handed over a packet.
Yeah,
and I'm like, this big yellow envelope. And I went, oh, what's that? And he goes, that's your registration forms and everything for MS Australia. And I'm like, which I think was MS Plus. I don't know. They keep changing their names. And I'm like, oh. Okay, then.
Yeah.
Like information, he goes, and that's right. He goes, and I'll register you with MS Australia or MS Plus, whatever they were called back then. And I'm like, okay. All right, I haven't had that service before, but thanks for that.
Well, I have to say, one of the things that was, so I was sort of managing alone and kind of doing it, and that was okay. But my friend who's got MS, she talked to me about her having her MS employment support worker. And I went, what is this thing? What is an employment support worker? And I have to say, I should just say really clearly, I work in the community. So I know about I know about employment support, but I hadn't ever thought about MS being something that you would have employment support for. And in New South Wales or in Sydney, MS Society in Sydney has employment support. And that was
they do in Victoria as well. So MS Australia do that one. In the states that they take care of. So I'm not sure about the rest of Australia. And if you are running your own business as well, they will cover you under that for things like massage, as long as there's a hook in this one, which if anyone out there in MS Australia is listening, pisses me off to no end. Your business has to be running as in a profit. So for those that are starting up their businesses and their business is running at a loss, you can't get any assistance.
Okay.
And I know this because someone I knew recently applied for it all.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, well, I work for myself. I until recently, I was also employed by a large NGO, and I've just recently medically retired. And I still have support, even though I'm medically retiring officially. This is my last week of permanent employment. I mean, I've been on sick leave for months, but this is my last week as officially permanently employed. But they're still going to continue to support me. And so, that has been unbelievably helpful because they actually fund massage for me once a fortnight,
which is NDIS don't generally fund massage.
Well, they do if you're self-managed, but
not even legally, only if it's written into your plan. So it has to be written into your plan, and that comes down to your planner whether they'll approve it or not, and it's written in there. I know this because I've been down this route. And it has to be written in your plan to get massage. So that's one of those inconsistencies as well with NDIS. That yes, no. But for people with MS, and if you are out there listening and you're newly diagnosed, massage helps with the muscles and the muscle spasms.
Unbelievable.
Like you would not believe. And that's why I'm sitting here with greasy hair at the moment.
Oh, you just had a massage.
I've just had a Balinese massage that nearly killed me in pain in my legs, but I grit through it, hoping that it would definitely help. But my back, my shoulders, oh my God. So
can I tell you the other thing? Well, the other thing that's been really helpful, so I've had EP, exercise physiology, as part of my plan, and I wanted to do like reformer Pilates, apparatus. And I spoke to my EP about a year ago, and she said, no, you can't do it. Your balance is not good enough. No. And then I spoke to her about 4 months ago, and she said, I reckon you can do it. And so I've started doing Pilates and one-on-one because I have an issue with proprioception, so my body in space. So the Pilates instructor was like, no, not in a group yet. until we make sure that you can, I can help you do that. So that's great.
Yep.
But it has been incredibly helpful with muscle spasms and things. And also, so today, this afternoon, I had Pilates, and we were really working on my left leg, because my left leg doesn't feel like it's attached. And so it does its own thing. And it's been incredibly helpful at being able to do those kinds of things. So it's going to be massively helpful at building up, strength in my left leg and, all of those kinds of things that are going to help with balance and everything like that. So, but one of the things that came out of my MS employment support was actually my MS employment support worker saying to apply for the NDIS. And I was like, I don't know that I'm disabled enough. And am I? And he was like, are you kidding me? And I was like, is MS a disability? I don't know. Anyway, he was like, I don't think I can do it.
I'm laughing because I hear this quite often.
Yeah. And so he was like, no, apply. And so also, I think what's really important is that MS Society have a team who help people with their applications, who have MS to NDIS. And I would not have got accepted had it not been for that person. And she was amazing at really helping me understand what, how MS affects me, because I'm very strengths and solution focused and all of those kinds of things. And I don't often think about what I can't do. I'm always thinking about, well, there's a problem, here's a solution.
You don't like telling people of your bad days, what it's really like on your bad days. So quite often, like when filling in paperwork, and in particularly NDIS paperwork, put down what you like on your good days.
Yeah.
And that is so detrimental to your application. You need to be 100% honest and write down what your body's doing and how shitty it is on the worst days with your MS, because that's what it's judged on.
And also thinking outside the box, right? So one of the criteria is communication. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I don't have an issue with communication. I'm a psychologist. I communicate all the time. And she went, really? Because you also mentioned that you have a whole IT set up because your hand doesn't work. Your hands don't work well. And so you use speech technology. You've got, this, that, and the other. And I was like, yeah. And she said, well, that's all communication.
That's communication.
I was like, I didn't think about that. And so she put that together. I just got that. I had the diagnosis. I had my GP fill in the form, and I was accepted first time round. And I think it's because she really knew how to answer the question. So I would also say to people who are thinking about the NDIS, go for it. Get MS Australia's support to do it. It will absolutely make a difference. And the NDIS, with all of its frustrations, and I have got just as many nightmare stories as anybody else, but it's been life-changing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And me too. I mean, I've had some horror stories come through from just my own personal experience. I've been on it about 9 years now. I was fortunate enough to be in one of the trial areas for it when it rolled out, and I wouldn't be where I am today. We wouldn't have this book. NDIS paid for all your writing classes, and the book was a bonus for you all from it. And the team that we built, that tribe that we built, and the skills that all you authors. I mean, you had skills coming into the book, Harry, but. The skills that everyone has learnt, and now you're one of the ones that is continuing on with Morpheus Writing Group in writing your story, your book. I'm not gonna say too much about it. Just that we are very excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Watch this space, everybody. It's I think
it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be good.
And change. Definitely change lives there. So,
and it's really what I do want to say about it, Justine, is because one of the things that you said to me was think about who you're writing for. Who do you want, for the book? I mean, you did it for the Whispers of Resilience as well. But I thought about it, and I thought, you know what? I need to write for my 30-year-old self, the person who I needed at that time when I had a whole, catastrophe after catastrophe or whatever. But actually, what did I need right then? And I needed somebody who got it, who understood really complex, difficult stuff, and to help me navigate a way through it. And I didn't have that, and found my own way through it. Yeah.
It's terrifying when, you know, you're diagnosed with something like this. I suppose you and I don't want to say fortunate, but we had the insight into a lot of this before we were diagnosed.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that Whispers of Resilience, our MS stories, help people with the terminology of what these things are, what a DMT is, what DX is, what RRMS is, what, you know, PMS.
Yeah, there's so many.
All of those things in there. But we had insight into it when we were diagnosed.
I mean, the other thing that people may find really odd is, so I am a psychologist and I teach about neuroscience all the time. And part of my job is to break down really complex neurological things into words that everybody can understand. I don't teach at uni. I teach community practitioners and teachers and medical and blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that I find about MS is that, because I love the brain, I think the brain is the most unbelievably complex and amazing organ in our body.
It is.
And so I come to it with this like absolute fascination with the brain. So I really actually, I know it's going to sound weird, but I really like having a condition or having a disease that impacts the brain, because what it does is it gives me insight and helps me understand. And because I also understand the brain and I know how it works, I don't find any of this stuff particularly scary, because I find it really interesting. And I understand it probably in a way most other people wouldn't necessarily understand it. My neurologist thought I was really weird at first when I said, "Where are my lesions? I want to know where my lesions are." And he was just like, "What?" Well, I said, no, I want you to show me. And so on the MRI, he's like pointing them out. I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, right, good." And I explained to him why, and now he understands it. And so he knows that I'm like,
my neuro, I'm like, "Can I take a photo of that?" He's like, "Sure." And he lets me take photos of my brain. And so then I know, because when I was first diagnosed, well, before I was diagnosed, they used to give you the film. They would give you the actual MRI. And I have my first 3 MRIs.
Yeah, I did too.
So, number one, there were only a couple of little white spots, which was in 2008. And then 2010, there was some more glowing Christmas lights. And then 2011, there were a lot more glowing Christmas lights. And I didn't even have the report from, the 2010 one suggested that it could be MS, that the demyelination. And I knew then instantly that's what it was. Yet they said, "Oh, no, it's your migraines that have done it." And I'm like, "But I don't have any pain.
Yeah.
Why is it my migraines? Why has it changed after 25 years?" And then when the third one I got, and there was no report in the third one, and I held them up to the window going, "Oh, I'm in trouble. There's more spots." And so when I went in to be diagnosed, I remember him saying to me, because I took in the MRI, and he goes, "Oh, have you read the report?" And I said, "No, the report's not there. I don't need to read it." And I was sitting there, and I remember seeing his mouth move, but not actually really hearing it, with him saying, "Oh, yeah, you've got MS." And I remember saying, thinking, I already know that, and I've been trying to tell you that for the last bloody 6 months. You haven't been listening to me. And then it was like, "So now can I come off the migraine pills?"
Yeah. Well, what I do is now where I get them, they download it. There's an app, so I see them on they're downloaded onto my iPad, my phone. So and they're there, they're saved there, so I can go back and look at them. I don't get the report until they don't send me the report for 5 days. I think they're assuming that if there's something disastrous on there that the doctor will tell me. But and I don't want to tell everybody what is on my scan, apart from the MS, because that's all part of the joy of the story.
Yes, that's right.
But I really like looking at it, and I can go, and I know what we're talking about in terms of the brain. But I don't have, and I think this is the other thing, for people who are newly diagnosed, I don't have very many lesions. So my friend who has MS, she's got way more lesions than me, but it actually depends where they are. And
that's exactly right.
That's the important thing. So I think I've got like 3 maybe in my brain, maybe a couple more than that. But it's where they are, and I've got 1 in my spine.
And the spine one would be causing you probably more damage.
Yeah, so my spine one is a big one, and it's at C23, which is right at the top of my spinal cord.
Oh, that's where mine is.
Oh, snap. There we go. So, and of course
but mine's only tiny there, not a big one.
So I've got a big one there, and I've got some little ones, but I've also got one in the right parietal lobe, which isn't necessarily going to mean anything to anybody else, but I know that the parietal lobe impacts a few things, but proprioception, which is exactly the issue that I've got. And proprioception is about understanding where your body is in time and space. And so I always think, so when I'm at Pilates, for example, so I'm lying down and I think that I'm perfectly straight, or actually on the massage table or anything like that, and I'm actually completely wonky. And then they put me straight and I go, really? Seriously? That's straight? Because that really doesn't feel straight. And so, that's proprioception. So what I used to do very early on in my MS journey was I used to fall off the ends of pavements all the time into the path of oncoming traffic because I couldn't work out where the pavement was.
Yeah, and so, I've got where when I was first diagnosed, it's not so bad now, but every so often it'll do it, where the goddamn road jumps up at me.
Yes.
And it's like, and so trying to walk when the pavement or the footpath or the grass is jumping up at you, and you don't know how far to put your feet down then. Yeah.
Well, when I walk,
how close the car is coming to you.
So when I walk, I feel like I'm walking on a trampoline. And so that is very bizarre. And also when I'm standing still, I feel like I'm on a slant, like I'm leaning on the side of a hill. So it's, and those are weird. Those are those weird sensations that are very difficult to explain. And one of the things that I find really difficult to explain is when my neurologist will say to me, "What's the sensation?" And I'm like, I find that really hard to explain. So I have some issues with my in my ears because my acoustic nerve or my vestibular nerve is impacted. And I said to him, I was like, you know what? It feels like champagne bubbles inside my head. I was like, that sounds quite nice, but it's actually not.
So if you read my chapter, because none of you have read each other's chapters yet.
It's all a big surprise.
So mine goes into talking about butterflies in my chest, thinking that it was MS. Internally, but it wasn't. It was something else. And how you can't put everything down to MS because other things happen wrong in your body as well. Yeah. So it'll be interesting when you all get to read each other's chapters.
Yeah, because in my chapter, I haven't really talked about the specifics of my symptoms. I'll do that in the book, but in the chapter, I haven't done that. But one of the ones that I get that's really weird is, and I didn't even know that you get this, internal tremors. So people talk about tremors often with MS, but I get internal tremors. So nobody can see them. But it feels, and it took me a long time to work out and it was actually my neurologist who said, that's a tremor. And I was like, oh yeah, actually, I think it is. You're right. I just didn't know what it was. So it's very weird.
It is very, very weird. So if you're sitting out there listening or you're watching us on the vlogcast and you would like your own copy of Whispers of Resilience, our MS stories, you can get that through resiliencemindset.com.au or on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any of the major book platforms there. A final word, Harry?
A final word is don't do it alone. Don't do it alone. There is a tribe. We are here to support you. You can honestly talk about anything, and by golly we do, about any of the weird things. because you can't talk about it with anybody else. But we know, we get it. We really get it.
And if you're not sure where to find a tribe, you can contact me at hello@justinemartin.com.au, and I can send you some links to all of the online support through Facebook groups and that we are connected in. So thank you so much, Harry, for being a part of this project. And I can't wait to continue working with you and bring your book into fruition.
I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving it. Yeah. Very excited.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
fantastic.
Justine.
You're welcome. And everyone else, until next time, you all stay healthy.
Are you ready to be inspired? Get ready for the book that will touch your heart and ignite your spirit. Whispers of Resilience, Personal Stories of Living with MS is now available for purchase. Have you ever wanted to peek into the lives of individuals who have triumphed over adversity? Look no further. This highly anticipated anthology brings together a group of exceptionally talented authors, all living with multiple sclerosis, who share their personal journeys with unyielding honesty and vulnerability. At www.resiliencemindset.com.au, you can now secure your copy of this remarkable book that captures the essence of resilience, hope, and the power of the human spirit. Dive into the stories that will captivate your imagination and open your heart to the triumphs and challenges faced by these courageous individuals. With each turn of the page, you'll witness the unbreakable spirit of these authors, as they navigate the unpredictable terrain of MS. Their words will inspire you, uplift you, and remind you of the incredible strength that lies within. Visit www.resiliencemindset.com.au now and embark on a transformative journey through the pages of Whispers of Resilience. Get your copy today.